Welcome to the final episode of our Pasión de las Pasiones series, everybody. This week, we get into even more fantastic discussion with our guests for the series, Brandon Leon-Gambetta and Elsbeth Denman, as well as some phenomenal fanfic, as usual. But before we get to the episode, here's what you can expect after the show.
Join us back here in the call to action to hear about where you can buy Pasión de las Pasiones, more about Girl Scout cookies, our upcoming February newsletter, and the latest Undying Bonds episode that released last week and the one releasing next week. Another new review, and our standard other episode stuff.
Yeah. Until then.
Etc., etc.
Enjoy the show, everybody.
Welcome back to our discussion episode. Last time we finished our session 0 for Pasión de las Pasiones. This episode, we will be discussing the character creation process. We're excited to welcome back Brandon Leon-Gambetta and Elsbeth Denman. Do you want to reintroduce yourselves for everyone again and tell us about the characters you made?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Brandon Leon-Gambetta. I use he, him pronouns. I design games, do some podcasting over at Stop, Back, and Roll, and I wrote Pasión de las Pasiones. You can find me online at Leon-Gambetta or at BLG in a couple of the places with lower populations. And for this character creation cast, I chose to play as La Belleza. My character is Armando de la Fuente, a fashion designer / businessman who keeps everyone at arm's reach while also flirting a little bit because, gotta have a little bit of both.
Cool. And I'm Elsbeth, and you can find me on any socials that have @ as Elsbeth DZ. I was on Protein City Comics with Brandon over at Stop, Pack, and Roll and ran a small offshoot comic line called Outstanding if you want to check out a smaller run of masks. I also wrote and produced with my husband Dark Valley, which is a scripted anthology podcast, which you can find at darkvalleypod.com or anywhere you catch your podcasts. And if you'd like to play a game with me, like Pasión, you can head on over to Magpie Games' curated play program, where I am a GM and you can sign up to play with me. Mm-hmm. And my character is El Caballero. Her name is Milena. She is the younger sister of the recently dearly departed captain of our fair yacht, Lorenzo. And she's here sussing out the joint and kissing some people, maybe.
Definitely.
I'm here to kiss people and suss out the joint.
Yeah.
And I'm all out of the joint.
Right, and I've searched the whole boat. Ryan, can you please tell us about your character?
Absolutely. I made El Jefe. Catalina is her name, and she is the twin of Amelia's character, which we'll find out about in just a moment, but also the previous lover and quote-unquote spouse of Lorenzo, the dearly departed captain. Mi amor is gone, and I am just over emotional about the whole thing. But Lorenzo's sister, Milena, maybe we can find the comforts. And who knows what can happen on this wonderful yacht that I've invited you all to.
Mm-hmm. As previously mentioned, the kissing abounds.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Now, not with me, to be clear. Armando is definitely the sluttiest character and also has never kissed anybody.
Incredible.
Yeah. Like in flashbacks, yes. Main characters in this full section, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
I feel like it always the credits roll right as Armando's like about to kiss somebody. And so like people kind of assume that he has kissed people, but like we don't actually know. We've never seen it happen.
It's Schrodinger's kiss.
The next episode starts constantly with the people having like so how was last night? And they're like, Armando is the worst person I've ever met.
Right.
No, it was terrible. It was terrible.
To find out why, go to the Patreon and sign up so you can hear the nonsense happening there.
Yep. Well, Amelia, can you tell us about my twin, your character?
Yes. So I am El Gemelo Esperanza, the twin of Catalina. I am the former business partner of Lorenzo, our fantastic yacht owner, dearly departed. I introduced Catalina to Lorenzo, but I loved Lorenzo first. And definitely I'm not bitter about that at all.
No.
Probably. Like, I'm probably like fine with it.
I'm sure it's very cool.
No big.
All these characters are extremely chill.
Yeah,
So
nobody
chill.
has big feelings.
Right. And so like, I'm just mourning like the perfectly proper amount of like business partner, but definitely not lover amount.
Yeah.
Of mourning.
Of course.
Yeah.
This is going
Just
to
to
be
be clear.
the chillest group in Pasión de las Pasiones history.
Yeah. Right. Nobody has ever had less drama.
Of course
Than
not.
us.
Of course not.
And by chill, we mean a corpse on ice.
Right.
With a knife in its back.
Ooh.
Right. Definitely fell overboard.
Yep.
By accident.
By accident. I accidentally stabbed them 40 times.
Que accidente. Okay.
Well, let's go ahead and dive right into a segment that we are calling D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
So in this segment, we talk to our guests about their thoughts on the whole character creation process and how it relates to the game. But first, it's been a while since we've had you both on.
Flashback.
We have changed some of our questions between then and now because we've grown as people and podcasters and we are not babies anymore. Our cliche question, how did you start playing RPGs? How'd you get here?
My answer is an easy one.
Is it?
It's you, Brandon. It's you. It's all your fault.
It's always been you.
It's your fault. Yes, Brandon introduced me to tabletop RPGs way back in 2015. It was 2014.
That sounds about right.
It was Long
that the
Island.
Urban Shadows game?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Brandon said, hey, because we had a standing board game night because we were all living in New York together and working very hard. And we were like, we should have like a monthly board game night. And we were playing board games for a while. And Brandon was like, hey, I have this like role play game. Would you like maybe want to just maybe try that instead? And we were all like, yeah, okay, maybe.
We could just do it like one time.
Like super casual. Like, I don't really know. Sure, Brandon. And it was Urban Shadows. And I will never forget, I made a werecat named McCavity and fell in love. And we played
Amazing.
a few sessions. Loved it. And then he was like, oh, hey, when he moved back to Connecticut, hey, I'm making a podcast with my friend called Stop, Hack, and Roll. And I'm like, cool, about what? And he's like, games. So then I listened to it. I'm like, all right, now you've made me a whole gremlin. And it just blew up from there. So yeah, all Brandon's fault.
And that's why I get residuals on Elsbeth's checks when she does
all my
game-related work.
checks. Yeah, absolutely. Prior to that, I had asked to play the D&D as a child and was told no because boys. Not to throw everybody in there, but that's what happened to me is all I'm saying.
No, but you just gave a preview of how I got into games, which was D&D with the boys.
There it is.
Which you specifically did not invite Elsbeth to.
I didn't
We
know
didn't
Elsbeth
know
at the
each
time,
other.
in my defense.
But
Yeah.
you didn't invite her, did you?
I did not invite
Yeah, how
Elsbeth,
dare
no.
you, Brandon?
Yeah. Brandon, the patriarchy, Leon-Gambetta.
That's correct.
No. Oh no.
Yeah, that's what they all call me.
I do.
Yeah. So I got into games kind of the basic route. I was a kid. My babysitter was into fantasy and stuff like that. He got me reading Redwall. When he went to college, I got a big box of stuff, and it had like little minis in it, and it had some D&D books. I've still got them back here, and I was obsessed. I'd been like a big fantasy reader for a while, but like we're talking like 12-year-old Brandon, just like, oh, this is my life from now forward. Like I had the experience of like my mom telling me at some point, like you need to stop living in a fantasy world in these games. These things are probably damaging your brain.
What now, Mom?
What now, Mom? Look at me now. I got a book.
No, my mom is plenty supportive and everything. She got like 6 copies of this game. I told her not to back it because I was like, I'm gonna get some copies because I wrote it.
Right.
And she did not listen. But yeah, I came up really like as basic of a route as you can go, like D&D, then into Shadowrun, and then into like Wushu, which is like some like little indie that no one has ever heard of, but like doesn't have a lot of stuff supporting it, and like like the stereotypical indie designer route. Like I was on the Forge, only as a lurker, because I was a little young to be in with the people that were running the Forge at the time. But like I am as basic as you can get with that.
So when did you start like designing things though? When were you like, this isn't good enough?
Oh, well, everybody playing D&D's got their heartbreaker. It probably took, it wasn't, so like we played Shadowrun probably like 2 years, 3 years into playing D&D. And then I was like, I could make my own system, and I couldn't. I did not have skills or chops or an adult brain. And so like, I really got specifically into designing as like a more serious endeavor when I started Stop Hack and Roll. Which was largely an excuse for me to talk about game design with my buddy James.
That's how Ryan and I are doing it too.
Yeah,
it's just if we record it, we have to talk about it.
Exactly. Like, my then fiance, now wife, pointed out to me that I was like every day I'd be like messaging James about game design stuff, and she was like, "You guys are always talking about game design podcasts. Why don't you do a game design podcast?" And we were like, Pikachu face. And I've been doing that now for so many years. And
that's why
Ryan,
she
that's
gets
the
residuals.
normal. That's the
That's why she gets
normal
residuals.
route of doing podcasting, is like you're friends with somebody for a long time, you talk about stuff all the time, and then you're like, let's make a podcast. That's what Jude and I did with our podcast. It was like, we've been friends for years. Hey, let's talk about this in a recording. Or you could be Ryan and I, random person I've never met, makes a tweet, and I go, what a good idea. And 2 days later, we've registered a Twitter account and a website, and we're like, let's do this thing. And here we are 5 years later,
It's
actually
working.
friends.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We're doing fine. We got very lucky. But like, normal people make podcasts with people they're already friends with.
Don't podcast with strangers on the internet.
Right? It's terrible advice. Unless it's not.
Unless.
Absolutely.
It worked out. And now we're designing a game together.
Exactly. It's all come around to the full experience in the RPG world.
We got there
Elsbeth,
eventually.
You should design a game, Elsbeth.
You and me? Oh God.
No, you.
Can you? No, I don't want to.
You should design a game.
No, I
That's
just
what
want
said
to.
too.
I can't. I'm sorry. This is like the worst friendship thing ever. We just like pouncing that on you out of nowhere in the middle of a call. But you
I
should go ahead
mean,
and do it. You should do
Okay.
it.
Sure.
You should do
yeah,
it.
it's because it's so easy, and it only took you like 6 years to do all of the work that is necessary. Like, yeah, sure, I'll just pull that.
Yeah, you should do it.
Or
do
I
it.
could just throw ideas at you, and you could do it. Because
Right?
friendship.
No, man. I'm a one-hit wonder. I'm a
See, and this
one-hit
is the
wonder.
thing.
It's cool.
Is like, we have designers on this show, and then I'm like, what if you blank? And then they do it, and it's great, and I don't have to design
The
the
thing
game.
you want.
I can say to Grant Howitt, why doesn't your book have a fashion section? And then he says, good idea. And then he makes a fashion section in his game. And then, like Ryan and I, when we talked to like Spencer Campbell, we're like, you should do this. And he's like, I'm going to start working on that. And then like, it's great. It's perfect. Everybody else
I do
just
that
does
just
the
in
thing.
like a sneakier way. I'm like, hey, Brandon, would you want to play a Bridgerton version of Pasión? And he's like, yes, I'll write 3 new playbooks.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, I didn't ask that, but thank you.
Perfect.
You know, I actually think like Bridgerton can be done relatively well with the base playbooks.
I
think
said that.
There's
You-
one or two. There's one or two Tormentus ones that I think would maybe be useful for it.
That was my pitch to you, and you're
'Cause I
like,
think
wait,
El Abuelo and El Santo would be useful for it,
yes.
and maybe El Vivador.
Oh, and that was a conversation about that other game that I don't think ever came to fruition about the Alexa controlling your romantic life.
Oh,
Game.
Can't Handle the Heat.
Can't handle
which
the
is based
heat.
on Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that
I've got a couple. I said I'm going to be a one-hit wonder. That's not 100% true. I've got like a couple little mini games I'm
Right.
working on. Can't Handle the Heat is one.
So what I'm trying to prove is I don't write
Chase the
games.
Hollow.
I poke Brandon until he writes the game that I want.
Yeah. But you'll notice that game doesn't exist.
I know, it makes me
Can't Handle
sad.
the Heat is a half of a Notion page.
Darn
It is
it.
50% finished.
Well,
Yeah.
it's my method. I'm sticking to it.
The people
There you
that
go.
make zine games on a regular basis are the true heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Constant.
My goodness.
All the people that like do game jams and stuff, I'm like, I'm too much of a perfectionist, first of all.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, no, I can't stop tinkering with things. It's like, I have to get it. And my ideas are not good enough. I just
I'm
like,
sure
I
that's
don't.
not true.
Your ideas are there are the success of a system has nothing to do with how good of an idea it is.
Right.
And there's no like having a great idea is not what makes any of these work, you know?
No.
And most of them are bad ideas. And that's okay.
Right.
because they still work.
Absolutely. Well, for all the experience you've had playing games since then, what do you look for in a system as far as character creation goes? Like, what sort of factors do you need to have to make really good characters in a system?
I'm going to say a system that rewards you for having a character. Like, it's one thing to build a character in a game that's not going to then encourage you to invest in that character, because I won't invest as hard in the character creation if I know it's probably just going to be something I have in the back of my mind that doesn't matter to the game. But in at least the Powered by the Apocalypse games that I've played, there's a lot of reward for loving your character and like putting a lot of attention to detail into the character. So I'm going to say like having a system that rewards you and that encourages you to build a character that's complete is huge for me.
Absolutely.
For me, it's a matter of a fun to effort ratio. So like if you look at like some OSR games that like you pick a class, you choose a name, and you roll dice 5 times or 2 times or 1 time or whatever. Brilliant, incredible, amazing. I love it. If you look at a PBTA game that like has character creation as part of play, and some PBTA games are and some aren't, you know, like I tried to really make Pasión one that making your character relationships is like a small thing, but you always end up going long on it and like chatting with each other and like, because it's all flirty stuff, and flirty stuff makes you do that.
Right. And what if? And what if?
And what if? And also, what if?
And then.
And so like, that also works for me. But like something that like, there's this old series. I always mention this every podcast I go on, and I shouldn't, because it's full of a lot of like really conservative, horrific garbage. Oof. And part of the reason I mention this is because I want someone to make a new version today that doesn't have that. There was an old book series in the 80s called oh my gosh, how am I not thinking? Central Casting, which was a enormous. If you've listened to All My Fantasy Children, you've heard them use it. With the same caveat of oh my gosh, how did anyone ever think this was okay?
Yeah.
Central Casting is a table of hundreds of tables. And so you roll through your entire character's history, rolling up things like, oh, and then I became a pirate for 4 years. And during that time, I stole a ship and I got captured. And then, oh, so that means I need to roll on my prison table. And so I was in prison for 3 years.
Oh my God.
And like, it is incredible. It's this amazing book that just has like some truly ableist garbage in it. And
the concept
is good.
Yeah. It's just, and so like, you can use it and cross out the things. Don't buy it if you even can, because you don't want to put money in pockets. But like that for me also brilliant. If I spend 3 hours on a character rolling on 1,000 tables, making their life path, I love it. If I spend 3 hours tacticsing out the perfect build, I love it. If I have to spend 3 hours making a character for a one shot, hurl me into a fire. Just like it's not about the amount of time it takes. I don't need quick creation. It's not about the amount of detail. I don't need detail. It just needs to line up the right way. It's the ratio, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what about spending 2.5 hours making a character that we're never going to play?
Well, so if we were doing that for like D&D 5th edition or GURPS, like let's say we're doing GURPS, I would be like, no hate on GURPS. I can enjoy playing GURPS because I like tinkering with the little things. But like the actual building isn't the fun part necessarily. Like as a group, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I came on a podcast and built a character for 2.5 hours and like there wasn't like the fun back and forth, it was just all of us like looking at our papers and then looking up and saying like, I picked the driving at
Oh, so
4
like if
points.
Ryan decided we should do a whole series on Heroes Unlimited?
It was an educational experience.
That's
no,
your-
thankfully we had Jeff and John from System Mastery on for that, so it was fine.
I'm sure that, the two
it was
of them
great.
are
But like otherwise, if it hadn't been with Jeff and John, like when we did Marvel, when we did the old Marvel game, it was so bad. It was
but
so,
like you compare like that kind of experience though to like a table, like one that you're like rolling everything. That you're like rolling and going like, ooh, I was born under a star, which means that I've got the shape of a leopard on my face. Like that's fun, right? And so like it's about the experience being short enough or fun enough.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Family Feud style.
Yeah.
Yep.
We also like to talk about character sheets. And kind of the layout, and it's the first impression that a lot of people have of a game is making characters and particularly seeing the character sheet in front of them. That design is especially important in PBTA games because you are checking off those boxes and you're constantly referencing that sheet. It's not like a D&D where you can kind of memorize what your stats are and then you're good to go. So what things, particularly Brandon, did you consider that you especially wanted on there? And Elsbeth, I'm interested too, like what things do you think are like most useful, most helpful, or if you want to tell Brandon off, what things should he have added?
Yeah, Brandon, I have opinions on this thing that you did that I love. No, I don't.
Well, good news. I didn't do it.
I know.
This is one of those things that it's brilliant because I didn't do it. Miguel Espinosa did it. He's a phenomenal game designer, the designer behind Nahual. He's an incredible layout guy. He did the layout for this and does layout for a bunch of different Magpie games. And he figured out how to make it all fit on one sheet.
Yes, that's incredible.
It's incredible. And like, it's not dense.
No.
Brendan and I had been talking about like the possibility of trying to fit it on one sheet. And we were like, but we'd need some kind of a layout super genius that's really, really cool and great at everything in order to do that. And then Miguel just did it.
Was a super cool layout genius who just did it.
Yeah, and like there are sheets that there's extra space. Like I'm looking at
mine.
Yeah. Like some of them are a little full. I'm looking at La Belleza. There's plenty of space on there, you know? And like that's a great place to connect some people to each other, like write little relationship stuff.
Did I draw a picture? Yes.
Perfect.
And it'll be in the show notes. And I'm joking.
I know Ryan's sheet, I wrote the names of his thugs.
But like I really wanted it to be something that you could reference quickly, because as we developed the game, it became clear to me that it could be a good intro game. And like, you know, we're all comfortable flipping a paper over and knowing where it'll be looking and all that kind of stuff. But like most people want their paper to be flat in front of them, like the menu at a diner. They want to look at the thing and they want to say, these are the things I want to pay attention to.
So not a Cheesecake Factory menu.
Not a Cheesecake Factory. No. Specifically, this is me starting beef with Cheesecake Factory.
Come at us.
You're on notice, Cheesecake Factory. But so like we wanted it to all fit. We wanted for like the things that are most important to reference to be bigger. And so like that's why but Miguel did all of this. Like, you know, he ran with it. We just gave him what we were hoping to fit on the page and he was like, yeah, I can do that. And so like, I owe a huge debt.
Yeah.
I love how he like really put front and center your question and like gave it like its own like pretty little box.
I was going to say, I like that it draws your eye to that. And I like that your moves are the ones with like sort of like the flourish and the kind of background into it too. So like your eyes again are drawn right there.
And
like
these
the
pictures at the top. Can we just like
excellent?
They're amazing. I'm just here to bring us back to the hot place. That's all I'm doing.
Well, also we wanted to show like again like a variety of Latinidad and to show like some people of like with different shades of skin, different like facial features and everything. And again, they are stock models. I don't unfortunately know any of these people. But that would be I had joked early on that it'd be hilarious to try to find these people and like play a game with them as like an AP. And then I was like, that involves like some like level of like stalking that I'm not comfortable with. Like, then as fun as that would be. But like I love how Miguel put like the question front and center, your conditions that are the second most important thing for you to reference are right underneath the question. Your moves are there, like written out in full. Oh,
it's so good. I
so good.
do love like once you get rid of the stats that you don't need since you're rolling with questions for everything, that frees up a lot of real estate on a character sheet.
So that's not, there's no stats on there, which like the question is like nice and big and bold and shows that up. There's also no space for the experience because it tends to be that you have experience in a PBTA and you have your advances for a PBTA. And for this game, we didn't want those to be things you're thinking about because frankly, experience and leveling up is not that telenovela-y. And so
You're not supposed to learn from these things.
No, you don't advance as characters. But so like it shouldn't be front and center on the playbook.
Mhm.
It's in the book that explains how to do it. You get new moves. You can swap your conditions around. You can swap your question around. All kinds of different fun things. But on your page are the things you need to play your game right now. Streamlined, slick.
Yep. One of the things that we always kind of discuss when we get to this question too is, was there a point where I didn't know where something should go? Or was there a point where I didn't know what the next step was or something like that? And that certainly wasn't the case with this one, and generally isn't with PBTA games because of the layout of the sheets. But it was super clear, like, okay, these are the things that I need to do in this order.
Excellent.
Just do them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I love how he set it up.
They're gorgeous.
They're so pretty. And the playsets have a similar sort of ethos of like fitting everything. They have kind of a active side and an inactive side. That like the first page of it is what you do to set up the playset. And the second page of it is the things that you'll need to reference like during the game, which is like your playbook, your playset moves, which are the couple of things that like, you know, are specific. You can port them over to somewhere else, but they're specific to that playset, and the NPCs that help to support that playset.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love that character creation here is like literally 8 steps. And then you're done. Yeah. That's wild.
And you can spend an entire day on it if you want to.
Yeah.
Like Metatopia has, I think, 2-hour time slots for your entire session. And so like a lot of people will bring in like pre-made characters. And when I brought Pasión, I did not. I was like, 2 hours is plenty of time for us to make characters very quickly, connect them to each other, and have like a good hour and 15 minutes still to play. If you want to do that. Or you can spend all day and pre-write a bunch of things and set up a bunch of different stuff, you know?
Well, like those relationship questions, too. It was like, you can just answer the question. Like, you can stick a name in the box. Or we can be like, and then. But also, what if? You know, which we definitely started to do.
I've been at tables that people have played out entire scenes during the relationship setting questions.
Yeah,
that like,
I love it.
That like someone was been like, yeah, I'm like seeing this scene where like, you know, here they are. And the other person's like, yeah, and he's like this. And it's like, yeah, and I'm like this. And like, you know, you've got a choice as a GM at the table to either be like, hey, let's save this for the play. Or you go like, yeah, come on, tell me more. Yeah, come on.
Like, if you're having fun and that's what you wanted to go for it.
Who cares, right?
Right?
You know?
Less work for me, it's fine.
Yeah. Again, the lazy GM's game.
Right?
Never, no.
Well, this is the part where we compare how this process went to other systems that we've played. So how do we think that character creation in Pasión de las Pasiones stacks up to other systems we played? Especially
it's better than Heroes Unlimited.
I mean,
I'm going to put that
is a low bar.
Put that as a quote on your next Kickstarter, or maybe like on the back of the book. Better than Heroes Unlimited.
We're going to have the ... like, you know, the sick thing to make it clear that it's not necessarily talking about the whole game. Just
right.
Yeah. We need some context.
Yeah, no, it's very quick, especially for PBTA games. Most PBT games, you know, they are pretty quick, but this one feels like really zippy, which is great if you want to get to the action fast. Yeah, which is nice. There's not a ton of like, there's not a ton of options that you get overwhelmed with, which is good. But you still get all the meat of the genre that we're trying to play towards.
Yeah. I think for me, like one of the things I like about this is it is approachable for a new group of people to have a one shot. Whereas like, even if you were going to have a one shot of something else, the amount of work you have to put in to build just the one shot, it ends up being like, you know, 5 or 6 hours all told with all of the building you have to do before
Mhm.
you can, play. And then your first session is either short or is long.
Right.
But-
Well, it's like in those ones, you either have to come with pre-made characters or,
yeah.
risk
So, like,
cutting the game short.
I tried to run a game at the holidays with some family who had never played before. So I was simultaneously like explaining how game works and making characters and trying to build, and they wanted to play after. And we just didn't have enough time. Whereas like when I do this game in CPP, I am always astounded at how fast the character creation goes. And then we have like 3.5 hours because they're 4-hour games. We have like 3.5 hours to play. And then we can take breaks and we can like luxuriate in fun scenes that we like. Whereas with other systems, sometimes you would skip through because it's just a one shot and you don't want to waste your time there because you'd like to get to a resolution by the end. So the time factor that this allows for a new game or a short game is really nice. It does make it a gateway game in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little lucky in terms of this being like a genre that you can have relatively few choices and end up with a character that works. And like the choices don't matter that much. You don't need to spend that much time thinking about it. Like choosing the name, it's not like Masks. It's not like Apocalypse World that you're like, I need to hit something super thematic. It's
Yeah.
like, I need a Latino name. Like the hair, like the look, highlight a couple things. You don't need to design a costume. You don't need a logo. You don't need something that makes you stand out. People are going to hear
catchphrase and a
like people are going to hear the first thing that sounds hot and their eyes are going to glaze over and be like, wow, your character's hot.
Right.
And honestly, if
I
you
just
leave
need
that
to know how
open-
many buttons are
How
on
many
the
buttons? Honestly, that's
that
like
is
one of the first questions I ask when we enter a new scene is like, what is your character wearing or what do they look like? Because it's such a fun start to a scene and it can evolve and grow with the character or show a personality in that moment or who they're trying to be with or whatever. So yeah, it doesn't need to be done in character creation.
The next playbook you make, that's going to be the character question is how many buttons are unbuttoned?
Roll with questions. How many buttons?
Are you showing some skin?
Well, I love that we haven't like pointed out our actual questions for our characters. Like,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah, not
for
really.
for example, for El Jefe, I've got, are you taking control of this situation? So like in everything that I do, that's something that I need to keep in mind. Like
Right.
I should be trying to take control of every situation that I'm in so that I get that sweet +1 bonus, which as we talked about statistically, huge boon
Very
to
helpful.
roll in 2d6.
You do not follow on the dance floor.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you got to lead always.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And my question is, are you taking advantage of your twin's reputation?
Oh. So good.
Mhm. Yep.
Mine is, are you handling things without guile and head on? Which
Yes.
absolutely want to do that.
El Caballero
Yeah.
is such a hammer.
But like he's such a hammer, but like the last time that I had a player play El Caballero, he was like the beautiful dummy. And but he like had big morals, but was so dumb. And like, it was so much fun.
if you're looking to play a himbo,
It was a himbo.
El
Yeah.
Caballero is the way to go.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
It was so good.
And I've got the question, are you the center of attention? Which is just very La Beza, I think.
Yes.
And
so it tells
Ladonia
you-
is, are you keeping your hands clean? Right?
Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
La
And who's
Empleada
left?
is, are you in over your head?
Over your head. Yeah.
Mhm.
So good.
And so it tells you exactly what to do, Like,
Right.
Yeah.
if you're ever lost, if you ever don't know what to do, you look at the question and you go, how can I get a +1?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
this is a game that you should min-max. Yeah, because, who cares?
Right.
If you're El Caballero and you're like, I don't know what action makes sense next, then like go and punch the person that you are mad at. Go and
Mhm.
kiss the person that you are in love with.
Right.
And just go.
It's another reason, though, that it makes it good for new players is that you have that question. Because there are times where you're like, I don't know what to do next. I'm not sure. And so you can look at that and, you know, like I can say, am I taking advantage of my twin's reputation? Well, I better go find somebody that I can, you know, manipulate into believing that I'm my twin. And
right. Well, it's a really interesting like look at the game design too, because like by seeing a question there instead of stats, you don't have to interpret what your stats mean. Like, my character has a low intelligence, but a high manipulative score and a high like charisma. And maybe they're like mid-range strong, right? Well, how does that translate to like doing actions, right? Sure, I get +1 or +2 here and there, but like what does that really mean?
Right.
You know, this is straightforward. This gives you a good target no matter what, and it doesn't like leave too many questions of like what can I do to do well in this game.
You don't get aimless a lot in this game where you're just like, there are so many directions and I don't know where to go. No, you pretty much always have a mission, or you pretty much always have a thread to grab and follow.
Yeah,
it seems like it's more, which one am I going to do first?
Yes.
Which of your desires? How do you get what you desire?
Yes.
Because that's what it's all about, wanting more.
How do you think that the process of building characters sets people up for playing this game? Like, how does it kind of set expectations for what the experience is going to be like?
Well, I think we touched on it. I mean, the questions really tell you where you're leaning, kind of gives you a direction from the get-go. And the relationships also put language to how you're going to be interacting with specific people and give you places to start. I mean, we all did it. We made a relationship and then we were like, ooh, and this happened. Ooh, and oh, did this happen? And and we already had scenes sort of forming in our heads just based on what was done in the character creation. I think it's a very good like commercial for the story you're about to tell. Like it's a teaser for what you're about to get. And because it's words and not a bunch of numbers, it's exciting, it's inviting, and it's approachable.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like the process is simple. It leads me to feel that mechanically the game itself will run very quick and very simply when you have to resolve something, answer some questions, roll some dice, and then keep going.
Right. And it gives the player, like as a new player, I've seen a lot of players get confidence because they understood how to build a character. Whereas, like, I'm still scared of D&D. I'm playing it. I'm still scared of it because I look at the character sheet and I'm like, there's a lot of numbers on this sheet and I don't know what most of them mean or what I'm supposed to do with them. And it, like, gives me agita to just think about. But, like, if they can look at this and understand all of the words on the page and what that means for their play, that makes them want to play more and think that they can.
Well, and I said, you know, like, I think, you know, one of the things that I always look at is like, was I sure where to put the thing? Was I clear on what step was next and like how to do that?
Yeah.
And you're right, because character creation is part of why we wanted to make this podcast, is the first interaction people have with a game when it is complicated and confusing and frustrating. I don't want to play that game. Like, you've already, like, it's a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
It also works as like, this is something that kind of happened as a byproduct that I really like about it, is it works as like a little thermometer, like almost like a consent thermometer. That like the questions that they ask, like the relationship questions, do not say you are in a relationship with this person. It's like, it's a one-way directional thing most of the time, or like it can be two-way, but like two-way in like a way that like isn't demanding something from the other player as heavily.
Right. It doesn't take any of their agency or, you know, like sort of remove their character sovereignty.
Yeah. But when I say Esperanza has been a source of entertainment and flirtation kept at arm's length, if your response to it is like, oh yeah, cool, then like it's like, okay, yeah. So like they flirt a little bit. They've got like some little charm back and forth. But like, you know, that's where it kind of is. But if your response to it is immediately like, yes, and Esperanza's desperate for him, then it's like, yeah, we know where we are, right?
Or, I mean, even in my case where it was like, that was super annoying because I was clearly into my business partner at the same time. And we're in the meetings and you're flirting with me and I'm like, not you, him.
Yeah.
Like,
and so, and like, so like as like players, like, you know, we start to go like, Milena's a person you go to when you're truly ready to cut loose. Does that mean that Milena and Armando are like making out 4 times an episode? Or does it mean that when Armando gets a really nice bottle of champagne, he's like, I know who to pop this with?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And like,
Milena is your wingman. Like, that's, you know, yeah.
And so like by introducing these like kind of intimate relationships ahead of time, you've got the time at the table to say like, you know, like to feel out where you are as players on it.
Yeah, to gauge that comfort and interest.
Yeah, because
right away.
Because at the end of this character creation, you either have spent X amount of time talking about how much fun you're going to have flirting with each other, and you're like, yes, this is going to be amazing, or you've spent X amount of time talking about how much you're going to be flirting with each other, and you're like, this isn't the game for me.
Right.
Right.
And then you say, hey, listen, love you guys. You mean the world to me.
Bye.
This isn't my game.
I'd rather go play Heroes Unlimited.
I'd way rather play Heroes Unlimited. I have like a shifting power that it does. I need to calculate my exact body mass and do like some longitudinal calculations. But I think I've nailed it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Put my calculus degree to good use with the vehicle combat rules. Good to go.
Yeah.
All right. One of my favorite questions to ask, especially developers, what do you think is one of the biggest flaws of character creation in this system? And inversely, what's your favorite part?
I think the worst part of the system in terms of character creation is that moves aren't always obvious how much you're going to be using them. I think it's very easy to look at the moves and go, that one looks neat, and then never, ever, ever use it. I think that that's a huge issue of games in general and PBTA games especially, that like the moves are all tempting. And because they're all tempting, it's hard to like negotiate out when we think we're going to use them. I don't know an elegant solution to it.
I don't know that any game really has like a great solution to that, because it is just going to depend on the way the story goes and like what happens in game. You know, it's like you could pick something that's really the coolest skill in basically any game, and if you don't end up there in the story, it's just not, you know. And I don't think that's through anybody's fault or a fault of game design, or it's like you just literally cannot plan for every scenario.
There is a little system that was, God, I can't remember who wrote it because it's been 1,000 years since I played this game. There was a system called Flags that was a like a modified version of Bonds for Dungeon World. And it's also, you can use it for a couple of other games as well, that basically makes it so that instead of making like Apocalypse World style history with each other, you say to the other players, this is what I want you to do to my character. And so like you basically, so your flag might be something like, protect me from danger, or like, tell me that I can't handle this. And then if someone does that thing at the end of the session, they get an experience point. And I think that is a really elegant way to set up getting an opportunity to use your moves. It doesn't work for Pasión at all because I don't want people like keeping track of experience during play which is
Right.
why we simplified experience way down with an optional setup of
Mhm.
more complicated experience. But I think there's someone's gonna crack it, and I'm looking forward to playing that game.
Yeah.
But I think flags is the first step down that path. Flags are keys from Lady Blackbird. One of those is gonna be the pathway.
It's interesting.
It's my shot in the dark.
Because when I look at playbook moves, I look at them in PBTA especially like these are things that I want to drive the story towards.
Yes.
Right? If I hit it, great. If I don't hit it, well, I keep driving at some point.
Mhm.
Right. It's
and-
like I want to maneuver myself into scenarios where I will use this.
Yeah. Like
You know, rather than being like, oh, I guess this would work in this situation. It's like, how can I get into a situation where I can pretend to be Catalina?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like the 101 PBTA playbook like thing is when you want to go towards a certain basic move, I want to fight somebody. You don't just say, well, I'm going to use the fight move. You have to narratively set it up, right?
Mhm.
I'm drawing my sword and I'm approaching him slowly and I lunge at him threateningly, and then now maybe you're triggering the fight move, or maybe you're triggering the intimidate move, or, whatever. But you have to play towards that narrative. And that's how I see playbook moves whenever I see them. Like if I get to them, great, but I have to maneuver myself in that direction.
Yeah. And I'm just a big believer in like really throwing up those going like, this is what I want you to do towards me, like like for example, La Belleza is a really reactive playbook.
Yeah.
It's maybe my favorite playbook from these first 6. Every time I sit down and like play Pasión, I end up going like, oh, I don't care what I play. I'll play whatever's left over. I'll figure something out. We'll fill out the team, and I end up choosing La Belleza because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But Up Boy and Hard to Pin Down are both based on people doing things to you, and especially people like being all into you.
Right.
And so like, I think there's something to saying like, hey, FYI,
I'm going to need you to do
love
this.
it. Yeah, I'd love it if you come on to me. Like, please do that because that's what makes my mechanics go.
Yeah.
Right.
Little bit of metagaming.
Yeah, and like Aslan Playata going like, hey, I'm torn between these two loves, but I also need to be under high pressure.
Right.
Please dump all of your garbage on top of me. I would love it. Thank you.
Yep.
And these are also conversations that you can have with the GM that aren't like pre-planning or things like this, but like, what do I want to explore with this character? Where would I like to see them go? What do I want to see them challenged by?
I'd really love if you put me in a situation where...
Right, exactly. And like, obviously the GM can't force things or shouldn't force things, but like opportunities are there. And this game is a lot of GMs available door here. You could take it if you don't want to, that's fine. But like, you can put some of those things behind doors and see if people want them.
And some of that I tried to tackle with the between session moves. They're not described as between session moves. I can't remember exactly what we called them, but essentially at the end of a session, you're supposed to ask each other. You're supposed to ask the GM, or the GM is supposed to ask, what question are you curious about for the show to answer? And players give questions of that, and like that is helpful for the GM, so that the GM knows to like do a little bit of prep work if they need it. Like, it's again, we want this to be an easy game for GMs that are new to it to do. But it's also a signal to the other players. Like, if I say like, I want to know if Catalina and Milena end up together, then that is a big thumbs up from me saying, Catalina, Milena, next session, I want to see the two of you explore your relationship a little bit.
Oh, we're accidentally locked in the broom closet.
Oh,
exactly.
Oops.
I played a game with Kevin Petker of The Ward. Great game. It's a medical show. And he said to us at the beginning of the game, there's one move I'd like to try out that has never come up. It's the intimacy move. And like it's just never come up in a session because we're doing mostly one shots. And like as a table, we all were like, yes, we have a mission. It's happening. And it did. Like, it does not destroy your fun to say, this is what I want to hit. This is what I want to explore. And like, you can play this game and have nobody kiss anybody. But if you sit down at the table and all of you all want your characters to kiss each other, like, it's great to be open about that and just say, like, you know, yes, let's make this happen.
Yeah. As a GM, like the main prep that I do for this is I call them secrets or discoveries. I'll just make myself a list of stuff that could be happening. I don't know.
Cool.
And then it gives me like things to pull out of my hat box when an opportunity for a GM move arises. And that's a really good place where I put my players' suggestions or things they would like to find out or know about in the secrets or discoveries, because then they're there if things get a little dull or if somebody loses their way or if, you know, whatever, it's there to reintroduce that little pokey, spiky subject.
We're in the middle of a question. We went way afield, but I think my favorite is the relationships. I could spend all day on, like, honestly, I could spend all day on any PBTA game. Yeah. But like, especially when love is on the line.
Yep.
Right.
Love is on the line.
Yep.
Oh, it's so good.
It's like, you know, the artists that are like, what if our OCs kissed? But it's just a table of people.
Right.
Yep.
Love it.
Even more opportunities.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
It's time for our favorite segment. The part where we pretend that we're going to play this game. This is our
pretend that we already
section.
have,
Yeah. So we obviously set up a few things already, but one thing I wanted to do with this was to answer those questions, or to, you know, pick those choices for last time on, to set up, like, where are we at here on our murder yacht?
Murder
yacht.
yacht.
Maybe not murder yacht. Yeah, we're gonna have to name our show too. So probably. Yeah. So I don't know if we want to continue with the same order. Ryan, if you want to pick one first.
Yeah, like, where am I looking for this?
Right under your relationships, there's a list of last time on your character sheet.
Fun.
So mechanically, how I'm going to vamp for a second, so you've got time.
Yes.
So mechanically, how last time on works is at the beginning of every session, you choose one of the things off of your last time on. It happened in the episodes between what happened last time in the last session and this session.
Oh, that's very good.
That is partially because RPGs tend to move slower than telenovelas. And so we want events to happen, you know, like, this is not sit for 30 minutes thinking if you're going to open a door. We want to know that a bunch of dramatic things have happened since the last time we got together.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So this is, we missed an episode somewhere.
Yeah. You don't start on episode 1. You start with a couple of episodes behind you so that you can flash back to those episodes, and so that we're not like, oh, I'm here. I'm climbing onto the boat. We're all just meeting each other at this tavern. You know?
Already beef.
Yep.
Yeah. Better for us to be able to ask, like, there's Leve is the one I'm looking at right now. You roll +1 for each person in the room with whom you've been intimate before. We want there to have been enough of a show for us to be able to go like, hey, who's been intimate with Armando? And people just start raising hands.
Right.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. It's everyone. But
it's everyone.
No, it's no one.
It's no one.
I gotta say, it's maybe Milena, because they knew each other back in the day before he was fancy.
It was a lot of really cheap champagne in.
That's true. Define intimate.
Right? Because like a game of chess one-on-one in a quiet room, that can be extremely intimate without being romantic.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. putting your boot on someone's shoulder while you sign a contract could be intimate without being romantic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So last time on for me, I think it just makes sense to go with this one. You took over a business or political seat as an interim leader. I think I took over Lorenzo's business.
Mm.
Excellent. Makes sense. Totally good.
Not shady at all.
Not
one is
shady at
sus.
all. No, I need to make sure that Lorenzo's business does not fail.
Because you
so
love
we
him.
can, because I love him more
Definitely
than
love
anything.
him. 100%.
That's the words.
Right. Yep.
I think for Armando, we got a flashback, this was flashback, I think, that showed, like a week before we got on the yacht, I slammed my beautiful shiny car into something,
Mm.
and I think I slammed it into the side of Catalina's car, thinking that it was Lorenzo. And like, there's we saw a scene that showed Armando like T-boning Catalina's car and coming out like ready to confront Lorenzo, and then having to like quickly cover up that this was an intentional thing.
Oops.
Oh.
Ooh.
Give Armando a little bit of a little bit of anger showing towards the fancy people also.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
My
I want
God.
to play this character so
know.
badly.
Right?
I've made
Right.
so many bellezas, and I've never made one that's like actually aloof.
I want to pick, you fought with your twin and one of you nearly died.
Oh. Oh, wow.
I mean, I really want there to be a scene where like one of us almost gets pushed overboard.
Which one?
It is like, well,
Do we know?
well, right?
It
You
was
can't
dark.
tell because we were wearing matching outfits. But my neckline was lower. So
Hair shinier.
right. I'm thinking that Esperanza almost pushed Catalina off and was like, I will do to you what you did to Lorenzo.
Amazing.
Like, I know you don't love him the way I love him.
Oh my goodness.
I do like that.
Milena and Armando appearing at the last minute to drag the two of you off of each other.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I take Catalina for reasons.
Mhm.
And I take Esperanza for reasons. We
Yeah.
can both play this game.
Right.
Fine, let's both play this game.
Fine.
And
Except
kissing.
it turns out that you took the wrong. No, I'm just
Oh
kidding.
no.
Oh no.
Wait, no, Armando
No,
can
I
always
know.
tell.
I can tell.
I know, Armando can tell. Yeah.
I do like the thought that my thugs can't tell.
Oh, they can't.
Mm.
No.
I think they can't, right?
Right. So
Right.
what if some altercation, because I imagine that we have tiffs all the time.
For sure.
And like
I wonder why.
I know, right?
Seems like a really healthy relationship.
Yeah.
No.
Feeling great.
But like I
think
can
you're
imagine the
projecting.
thugs coming to your aid, thinking they're coming to my aid, or vice versa, and having all that sort of fun in some scenes as well.
Oh, yeah. And I like definitely call them to do my dirty work too.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing. I think that Milena touched a weapon with my bare hands that has since gone missing. And I think it was like this pretty, like, I want to say like trophy harpoon gun that's like hanging on a wall somewhere that was like had
Amazing.
no real purpose for being used, was loaded but decorative, you know. And I
Mhm.
like took it off the wall and jokingly like aimed it at my brother's cabin and like pretended to shoot it. I was like, God, I hate you, you know, and then put it back on the wall and now it's gone.
Amazing. Amazing.
Oh.
I would never have used that because it isn't classy.
Harpoon gun.
Come on. Come on.
It's opportunistic though.
It's symbolism, okay?
It symbolizes that I hate him.
Yes, get on board.
Lorenzo's my white whale and I want to
Yeah.
kill him.
That's right. The harpoon's name is Daddy Issues.
Yeah. That's the boat's name.
That's the boat's name.
Excuse me, the boat is named Daddy, and the harpoon is named Daddy's Issues.
Oh, no.
Amazing. Oh, we've got healthy relationships all around here.
Yeah, I
Great.
feel really good about it.
I feel healthy with my relationships.
Mhm.
My relationships are one-sidedly healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you never kiss anybody.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You doesn't cross any lines.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah. Yes, I'm horrible to everyone, but it seems like people are probably nice to me
Oh,
because I'm pretty to look at.
Pretty all in the face.
hmm
I'm trying to figure out how I would play this character to take control of every situation I'm in.
Because you're Ryan and you can't.
I know, right?
That is a thing I've heard people say of like, I don't know if I'm mean enough to be El Jefe.
Mhm.
I've seen some people that I would not have thought were going to be able to be El Jefe do it. Just like pull out going like, yeah, like, they start out like, oh yeah, I'm going to try to like, just, I don't want to make them mad. And then like 2 minutes later, they're like holding their pet over like a drop. And it's like,
Yeah.
Oh, no. You went hard.
Well,
oh my God.
I can get to that point, I think, because like in one of our games, like I think it was I Have the High Ground game, like I had held your character's art like to the volcano.
Yeah, you were like, this
I'm
beautiful
gonna-
painting that you made me, I'm going to drop in this volcano.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So
volcano.
I can get petty and like
You've got that carrot. Are you taking control of the situation? Like
yeah.
you're in
Got
like
it.
a complicated situation. You're in a situation that you're like, oh, I might lose control. And then the GM asks you, are you taking control of the situation? And you say, yeah. And they're like, how? And you're like, I don't know. I point my gun at him. And the GM's like,
Exactly.
you've just taken control of the situation.
Good job.
That's a
That's the
plus
thing
one.
is that I think, like, even if you're not the kind of person that can, like, sort of innately role play that, you get to that question
Mhm.
and it's like, oh, now it's my turn to say how I do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I
Right.
do
It
like.
sort of invites you to be like, okay, now
Here's
make it
your
happen.
chance to like
Yeah.
add some flavor to what you were doing that triggered this move,
Mm-hmm.
and give you that +1 opportunity. I do like that instead of like always having to take control first
Yeah.
before I
Mhm.
trigger the move, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Some
which
of them
is
are-
nice.
And some of them they are set up to feel a little different in that way.
Mhm.
Like if you think like, let's be real, El Jefe, often pretty antagonistic. And in the course of play, we want El Jefe to come in the door winning, right? Like by the end of play, maybe we don't want El Jefe to be the happiest person at the table. But in the first session, El Jefe should be kicking all kinds of butt.
Yeah.
And so having a question that makes it easy for them to give everyone else a headache and get a +1
Yeah.
is great.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like La Doña can be sinister, can be antagonistic, is often,
Mhm.
but we also kind of want her to succeed. You
Right.
know, like
I don't know. I've been
like-
in some games with some.
there's
It's so
mean
fun
doñas.
when there's a Jefe and a La Doña that are
I love it.
diametrically opposed, and they just
Mhm.
are at each. They have like teams. And they're
Yeah.
just like
yeah,
at
the full
each other.
teams.
Oh my goodness! We played a game that ended up in I think 3 murder attempts on 3 different people, like at the all happening at the same time of like these very passionate 2 teams against each other. Ugh,
Mhm.
amazing.
I've definitely, as La Belleza, shot somebody and then got into the back of La Doña's limousine to be driven away to safety.
Of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah. Like, none of these characters, except maybe La Empleada, tend towards being the good guy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone needs to find their path. And
Yeah.
everyone is trouble in some way.
Well, I can easily see this group and our game itself being who killed Lorenzo.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And all of us can plausibly do it. And I
Yeah.
love the thought of us playing to find out that it literally can be any one of us.
Well, right.
depending
I was
on
gonna say, like,
where
as
it
we go
leads,
through
right?
our fan fiction, I have no intention of saying like who killed Lorenzo. I don't.
know.
We
Yeah.
don't know.
There's no way to know.
But if we all play that we both did and did not kill
Mhm.
him simultaneously, that just adds to that drama, because like we've got this whole audience aspect we haven't even talked about yet.
Right.
Of this is a TV show and an audience would be watching this TV show, and we need to play to throw them off the scent. If it's obvious that, oh, of course El Jefe is the one that killed Lorenzo. These like 8 episodes that I've been watching, it's been obvious every single episode. Well, so the bigger reveal will fall flat. But if
Mhm.
everybody's
Right. Well,
a
the bigger
suspect,
reveal though is that for the last 8 episodes, I was
Yes.
Catalina.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
yeah, exactly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what if our 2 characters like swapped on purpose? Like, what if we
Mhm.
conspired to swap
Right. Because we think, yeah.
because we wanted to uncover the real murderer?
Because it
perhaps?
turned out that actually Lorenzo had lent Armando a bunch of money to start his fashion empire and was starting to ask for it back.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. See, like
He'd never
all
do
this
that to
stuff
me.
can happen, but, right?
He's like, you're big enough now that you can repay me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because he was having to sell his yacht. So like obviously he's not doing great and he's,
Man, it's a good thing I've got a move to deal with that.
Exactly. So like I love the setup that we have here, in that I don't know who did it. And even if we conspire to figure out who did it, it doesn't eliminate either of us as a suspect,
right.
Mhm.
which is
There's
just
always
fantastic.
teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the Lorenzo dead.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As,
That's
That's on the
as the
poster.
saying goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Turns out we all killed Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
The real friends are the Lorenzos we killed along the way.
Aw.
I think the real friends are the accomplices along the way. Yeah.
Amazing.
So now we're going to get into our advancement discussion. Take it up a level.
Take it up a level. Take it up a level.
So in
I
this
still
segment, we
love
like,
that pun.
I hate it. So we like to talk about how character advancement works. How do you advance, and what happens when you do?
Yeah. This is when I should have the book in front of me. Give me just 1 second. All right, I've got it. Because, like, I should know just off the top of my head the entire list, but I don't.
Way to go.
Yeah, right? That just shows how little character advancement matters to
Right.
me.
Mhm.
This is one of those things where, like, I didn't want it to be a one-shot because I think that telenovela in a one-shot is a lot to ask.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want us to be over-obsessed with with advancing and getting more powerful.
Well, we talked about that. It's like these people don't learn and get better. Like,
Yeah,
it just, the drama changes. And also, I think with the way that the game works and like not sitting around and planning things,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want advancement to work that way, where I'm like planning what I'm going to do 3 levels from now.
Mhm.
And like characters can become better people. Like they can change and learn lessons.
Mhm.
But like end of the day, characters in telenovelas are creatures driven by their desires, and their desires aren't changing. Like,
Right.
maybe the guy who started out the bad boy ends up learning how to be a nice guy. But, if they do a sequel series, that sequel series is going to include him cracking something over someone's head in a bar,
Mm-hmm.
Because that's who he is. And that's how telenovelas work.
Yep.
Because he looks really hot doing that.
And
so, of
we all know
course,
that is the most important thing going on here. The hotness
that's really
level.
what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's well established.
So I'm again in that awkward place of writing Tormentas, and this book is the one that's published. Tormentas is going to have multiple different ways to handle experience, but the core system way of doing it is in the core book. And that is that after each session, everybody levels up. We don't want you to be thinking in the middle of the session, what do I get next level? We want you to be in the session 100%, body and soul, go home, think about what's going on, and advance yourself there. And because of that, we're able to make the advancements a little bit weirder. There are a couple that involve like some actual like writing or like some maybe even like negotiation with your GM or something. You're changing more than just going like sword +1. Every playbook has the same options. You can gain a move from your playbook. Simple. Check another move off. Gain a move from another playbook, which lets you add a new playbook's move. Change one of your conditions. So you still have the +1, -2 format of +1 on one move and -2 on another move, but now you're getting different results. This has some balance implications that were a lot of fun, that you could end up with 2 different conditions that affect the same move. Meaning that if both of those conditions are checked off, you've got a -4.
Yeah.
Which is brutal. Or you could get a +2. You could have like 2 different moves that give you a +2 to hit somebody. And now you are so good at hitting somebody. And that's okay, because we're tropes. We're tropey characters.
Because you could get a +5 at that point, right?
Yeah.
And if you're playing towards that, you can never miss.
Well, so you can, on a roll, max, you can get a +4 total.
Okay.
Or a -3 total. Same PBTA, -3 +4 range. But if having 2 conditions marked brings you to a +2, it's really easy to to hit that top, right? You can swap your question for another playbook's question, or being really legitimate, you can talk to your GM and get a new question. And so this is the kind of thing where you've been El Caballero, you've been kicking butt all over the place, and then you got a huge lesson and you were like, oh, this isn't how I want to live my life. El Jefe took me under his wing and taught me that I can be manipulative. And so I'm changing my question to, am I keeping my hands clean? And so, it just changes the focus of your character. You can introduce a new NPC, which could be looking from a playset or from the supporting cast deck. You take permanent control of an existing NPC, which means you always have the hook on them. You're able to use their move always. Or you can take blank from the blank playbook, which is you can take a feature from a playbook. These are intentionally broader than most PBTA games are, because we're not caring about we're not caring that much about balancing it to the same extent. It is a huge deal for someone to take the Nova flares in Mask. But it is less of a big deal for somebody to take La Doña's schemes, because every move in this game is like a double-edged sword. Yes, it makes you better at doing the things you're good at doing. Yes, it gives you opportunities. It also makes you a target, and it also makes you at risk of screwing things up. Hey, I'd love to have a bunch of thugs that do exactly what I'd like. Half a session later, hey, I've got a bunch of thugs that don't do what I want anymore and are all mad at me.
Yep. Mine now.
Yep.
Yep.
And so having that as relatively broad stuff lets you play around and make some kind of fun combinations.
Mm-hmm.
It also lets you dial. Sorry, it also lets you dial up to 11, like we were saying before. Like if you're finding something leaning in a direction, you can be like, well, let me just push it all the way in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've met a couple of people that have joked about like making min-maxed characters. And let me tell you, El Caballero with Bitter Rage. Oh, wait, does this build still work? Does he still get... El Caballero doesn't get rageful anymore. I forgot about that because the conditions have changed around. But if you play El Caballero and you swap out one of your conditions for rageful and you get Bitter Rage, then you can automatically roll with a +3 if 2 conditions are marked, and on a +10, you immediately knock them out.
Lol.
Oh.
It turns you into such a powerhouse. And like with For Your Protection, where you get the ability to like appear to help somebody, you can just appear in a scene and knock someone out.
Amazing.
Almost guaranteed. And like, that's silly. And
in the best way.
It works.
Yeah.
You know? Like there is romance in that. This burly dude kicking in the door suddenly out of nowhere and like, boom, I've solved your problems and I love you.
Right.
And they
didn't like how that guy was
they just
looking
knocked
at you.
someone out.
Yeah.
Sounds
That
amazing.
only makes more problems.
Oh, it's so good. Amazing.
So yeah, min-max my game. I dare you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we kind of talked about how it had the narrative effect and how it represents stuff in the story. So really, is there anything else that you want to say about Pasión de las Pasiones before we head out?
It's bad. Don't play it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, garbage.
I
game,
heard that
garbage game.
Brandon guy's kind of a jerk too.
Yeah.
That is true.
I hear
also.
he upholds the patriarchy at every given
That's true.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, known for it. Known for it.
Yeah.
Making this game has been so much of a joy, and I love hearing what people do with it. I love seeing what people do with it. I intend to anything I can do to help people to play this game and uplift people playing this game and doing cool stuff with this game, I want to do. Like if you get this game and you've done an AP of it, like shoot me a message. I'm currently in the process of putting together a page that helps people connect with each other for like, we've made this AP, we've made this playbook, whatever, you know? I'm trying to make that happen because this game is, you know, it's about sitting together and enjoying something together. And it makes me so happy that there are people doing that. And
you seem vaguely partial to this game.
Yeah,
I like this game a lot. Like I think that I was never going to be somebody that put out 15 full-length book games because I'm very busy with like regular life stuff. This isn't my full-time job, and I'm a slow writer. And I'm so happy that this was the game that I was able to put the time into because it means a lot to me. And I hope that it means a lot to other people too.
Yeah, I mean, like the passion that you have for the subject and for the design, and like I feel like all of that shines through, and I feel like I've again said it before on this show too that like be proud of the things that you make. Like there's so many of us culturally are taught to like pride is not, you know, like don't be proud, and it's like no, you made a cool thing. Be excited about it. Like just do it.
I am very proud of it. I gotta say, and like. One of the ways that I've been able to see this reflected is like being able to tune into like an actual play and go like, oh wow, this rocks. And like obviously a huge part of that is the talent and skill of the players on it. But you can also see sometimes like, oh, and this was like that neat thing that I did.
Yep. It wouldn't be nearly as fun if it wasn't a good game.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No.
I think so, and so I'm excited. It's nice.
Absolutely.
This is like the one thing that I'm sedate about is like accepting praise for my work.
It's weird and awkward. It like
Yeah,
it takes
absolutely.
some like getting used to, but like you deserve it. You did a cool thing. You put in a ton of work and the final product is awesome. Like
Thank
be
you very
excited
much.
about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I can say one thing about it, I would
Yeah.
say don't be intimidated by not knowing the source material. Play it anyway. Just
Mhm.
play it. Like
Mhm.
this is one of those games that when we in the CPP put it up, we don't know if it's going to book or not because there seems to be this hesitation of I don't know the source material, so I'm not going to be able to play. Yes, you will. You
Yeah.
definitely
Mhm.
will. Play it anyway. Give it a try. If you don't like kissing games because you're, make different life choices than me, cool. But like, try it. Just try it because it's so much fun. It's such a joyful way to spend some time with friends that you're cool having flirty moments with. Like, do it.
Mhm.
It's for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you can also play a low romance Pasiones Pasiones. I know that sounds ridiculous after spending an entire like 4.5 hours talking about how flirty it is. But you can play this with like no physical stuff. You can play
Yeah.
this with low flirting. Like we talked about, we made a mystery, right?
Mhm.
We didn't just make a romance. We made like a mystery show.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's no reason that if we wanted to play it that way, that like this could be about family business. You know,
Totally.
like we could all be siblings or, like that we could tell that story and it would have just as much drama,
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
less
For sure.
kissing.
Directed by Ryan Johnson. It'd be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next step is trying to get Ryan Johnson to play.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
It's Ryan Johnson and the models from the pictures.
Ryan Johnson, if you're listening to this, which I know you are, hit
Yeah.
up Brandon.
Mhm. Big fan.
Play this
Exactly.
game.
Why aren't you returning my calls anymore?
Come on, Ryan.
Did that night in Vegas mean nothing to you?
Well, with that in mind, Elsbeth, Brandon, thank you both so much for joining us to talk about Pasión de las Pasiones.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for having us. It was delightful chatting with you, and
Absolutely.
oh man. I
Great.
I have the problem that I end these character creation cast episodes and I'm like, I want to play this actually.
Uh-huh.
We
Wel-
had the
well,
worst,
welcome.
like we did not think that through when we made this show. We did not think that through.
I'm glad that you know that it's on you.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, no,
we
it's
did
definitely
this
our
to
own
ourselves.
fault.
Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely.
We
Well,
suffer for our art. Truly suffer.
That's how you know it's good.
Mhm.
Mhm.
There
Yeah.
you go. Well, can you remind everyone where they can find you online and what sort of things you're working on?
You can find me online at Elsbeth DZ. And if you want to listen to more of my voice, you can listen to Protean City Comics and its offshoot Outstanding. You can check out Dark Valley Pod at darkvalleypod.com. You can join me at the Curated Play program at Magpie Games. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here running Pasión in the free time I have. Big fan. So thanks for having me.
And you're going to tell people about the game you're working on now that I've put you on the spot and made you say that you're going to make a game?
Yeah, the game that I'm working on is poking Brendan to make the games that I want. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a failing battle right
meta
there.
game.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm in it for the long game.
It's a LARP, actually.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's been happening. You didn't know?
Oh, okay.
Been playtesting for years.
You can find me at BrandonLeon-Gambetta.com. I additionally am B Leon-Gambetta many places. Probably the most important for this is you can pre-order Pasión de las Pasiones at magpiegames.com/pages/pasión. And these days I'm stop hack and rolling still. Our game design podcast. It's still going strong, still having a ton of fun with it. I'm working on a little skirmish game called Rad Crawl, but that is so self-indulgent like, I can't even tell you how self-indulgent that is. But yeah, check out Pasión. Check out Pasión. That's
it's good.
The
It's
thing
good.
that we're about right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, if we haven't convinced you so far, let me just say it one more time. It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
And, I'm looking forward to Tormenta's del Corazón coming out with some more options. Hopefully not too much later. Because
Absolutely.
I've been working on that stuff, and some of that stuff is very fun.
I'm excited to see it. It's going to be good. Well, thank you both again for sitting down with us, joining us again 5 years later.
For your first and last episode.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, you heard it here, folks. This is the end. No,
Yeah, sorry.
we cannot end on a 58. Like, we just can't. Like, we gotta
No.
break out in hives. 58's a terrible number. Anyway, thank you both for joining us, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that. I really like when we have designers on the show. I know I say it
So
over and
much.
over and over
I
again.
know.
But we just get to we get so much more detail, and I love learning about the process and the
Mhm.
decision making, and just like the intentionality behind a lot of the design
Yeah.
stuff is really fascinating to me. And I feel like we really got a lot of that in this
Oh,
series.
yeah. Yeah, Brandon was a phenomenal guest, and Elsbeth is like such a super fan of
Mhm.
of the game and a good friend of Brandon as well.
Yeah.
So you can like I love the talks about the early play tests of the game.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is like the games take so long to kind of iterate through, and like Pasión kind of proves that. If you have the Ashcan edition already, you can easily compare that against this finished product, and it's like, night and day how polished it has become over the years.
I think that's a really interesting thing that we get to dive into when we have those designer episodes too, that I don't know that it gets talked about like a ton on other shows. Because like they tend to kind of show off the system and play it and that kind of stuff. But we do get a lot of chance to really dig into that. Like when we go into the history of the game, we get to talk about those iterations. And I think it's really encouraging as somebody who's, trying to do game design now, this realization that like, you're not going to get it right the first time. And that's like, totally okay. It's okay if your game looks kind of janky to begin with. Like that you don't have to have that brilliant, bright idea right away.
Right.
And just the reminder of that. Because like, I think we all kind of know that. How many times did teachers say like, make a rough draft and then fix it, but kind of getting to see that in action is really cool to me.
Absolutely.
And this is just such a good game. It's just such a good game. Like it's just like a really good game.
I really want to play this so bad, and like someday we'll have to take Elsbeth up on her offer to run the game for us, because my goodness,
really,
it would be a lot of fun. So we'll look into that. Elsbeth, if you're listening, keep in touch. We'll reach out. But before we sign off for the day, we do have a couple calls to action. First up is just a reminder that Pasión de las Pasiones released last Tuesday on Valentine's Day. This game is so good, like we've just been saying, and we really encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. And as usual, we're not paid by anybody to say this. We just really love this game.
We love this game so much that we paid for it.
Yeah.
Like they're not paying us, and we did in fact pay them.
Yeah.
Not to be on the show, but we did buy copies of the game. So like A+ can't guarantee very good game.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, if the last like 3 episodes have not proven that already.
I know.
I don't know what will. Not everything's for everyone, but it's a good game.
It's so good.
But this should be for in other news, here's another reminder that it is still Girl Scout cookie time. My daughter Eleanor is selling for the Girl Scouts, and it would help her tremendously if you would buy some cookies from her. We've made it really easy this year, so you can just head over to cookies.charactercreationcast.com, and it'll take you right to her page where you can order to your heart's content. So if you don't have a Girl Scout in your life, like a family member or a neighbor kid or, somebody at work or whatever, you may borrow mine. You can feel free to get cookies from Eleanor. I think the online orders go through like mid to late March or something like that. Nice. So you have time. And they'll get shipped right to your door. It's pretty great.
Cool. I already ordered mine and I cannot wait.
My brother ordered 19 boxes.
Wow.
Like,
I got to keep up.
What are you going to do with those? Like,
I don't have the
like, you don't have kids. It's just like you and your wife. Like, we need 19 boxes of cookies for.
That'll last all year.
It's just like, don't judge me.
Don't judge. Don't freezers judge keep those things forever.
It's true. I just ate our last box of peanut butter patties from last year.
There you go.
I found another secret box in the back of the cabinet. So go me.
There you go. Well, another announcement is that our newsletter for February should be releasing next week, Monday. This newsletter will give a brief recap of the episodes this month, what sorts of things were released in our Patreon, as well as whatever else we end up putting in there. Amelia did a fantastic job on the layout and content for these, and I'm really excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our newsletter. We should make a note in there that you can go to newsletter.charactercreationcast.com to sign up for that, so that people know where to find said newsletter.
There you go.
Yeah.
link is in the show notes, people.
Yes. Link in the show notes. We should get t-shirts that say link in the show notes. If you are part of our side quest or higher level in our Patreon, it's $5 and up for people who can't remember the names of the tiers that they back in Patreon. Me. You'll have noticed there's another episode of Undying Bonds in your feeds from last Monday. It was such a good episode. Ryan and I got to solidify some really important names of things, which I feel like always kind of helps. You can change names later, but it does always help you like get the vibe of things. And we kind of talked about some really interesting relationship mechanics that we're really excited about. Coming up next week, you can get part 2 of that recording because we got really excited and went on for a long time.
Yep.
Where we dive into some of the different archetypes that we have planned, and a little bit about magical companions. So it was really so much fun to do, and I'm really excited about the things that we're coming up with. Ryan is like, pretty soon we'll have a game, and I'm like, buddy, we're a long way off. So we'll see. But you can join in on that fun by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/charactercreationcast. If you are a patron, you can also join our Discord, discord.charactercreationcast.com, where we having some conversations in there about the design. We love to hear people's thoughts too. So
yeah, absolutely.
2 for 1 there.
Yeah.
Be on the Discord and get some cool game design episodes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun there too. Other great things you can get for signing up with the Patreon are our weekly chit chats, releasing on Thursdays now, which give all patrons a peek behind the curtain of our lives and our friendship outside of the show. We will also send you thank you cards to those at the side quest $5 or higher level, as well as those at the campaign level get a little friend time therapy. It's turning out.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a little group, unmoderated group therapy.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We just hang out, no pressure at all, with the other patrons at that level, at least once a month. It's just been such a blast, and I've been looking forward to them every time we've done them. Our current patrons at that level are an absolute delight, and I cannot wait for the next one.
Yeah, it was great. It was like just a lot of talking about, life and business plans and relationships, and I just had some candles burning and was coloring in a coloring book while we were all chatting. It was so much fun. It was
very cozy.
Yeah.
But we also like to thank everybody in every episode, like we're going to do right now, starting with Lieutenant, our first patron. So many thanks to you.
Thank you to DJG, Tigranosaurus.
Eric Bonds, thank you for your support.
Matt Newton, we appreciate your contributions so much. Thank you.
Shadim Kabal, thank you so much.
Daryl Holiday II. We can't thank you enough, but we will continue to try every single episode.
the shyest barbarian, we are so very grateful to you.
And also, like, we're glad you're doing good.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, buddy.
Absolutely.
Thank you to Benjamin Sweeney. We could not do this without you.
Lorcan McGinnis, thank you for your support.
Thank you to Rob Fletcher. We're really glad to have you backing us.
Kevin Brown, we're grateful to have you here as well.
We are glad to have Tentacle Duck here not entirely, because I get to say this name every week. Thank you so much for supporting us.
John Edibus, keep crushing it for the Lord.
I can't believe you put that in there.
It's a campaign level reference, folks, and something just for John. But thank you so very much for backing us.
A3 Sketchpad, thank you for your continued support.
And we are glad to have you here, Cole McCallum. Thank you for supporting.
And our newest patron, Carlos Salazar, thank you so much.
And thank you to all of our supporters in the future. We couldn't make this show as easily without your assistance.
We're really close to our goal of fully funding this show. If you want to help us over the edge and finally start breaking even on producing this show, you can head over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast to find out about all the amazing stuff our Patreon has to offer, and you can sign up. If you like what you're hearing there, please let others know. And you can feel free to message us on the Patreon posts themselves or with us in Discord. If you would like to support us in a non-monetary way, you can always leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Facebook, Podchaser. Did I get all of them?
Ratings on Spotify now.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Like this new and exciting one that we just got.
Yeah, so we got this one from a Jutlander83 from Sweden on iTunes, titled A Great Gateway Drug. If you are interested in tabletop RPGs, Character Creation Cast is great entertainment in and by itself, showcasing a plethora of games through the process of character creation. The chemistry is great, the format works, the insights are profound, and the guests are interesting. But the show is also an amazing gateway drug to other entertainment. I would not have found podcasts like Protean City Comics, Kill Every Monster, and System Mastery if Character Creation Cast had not featured the creators as guests. Similarly, I have bought a small handful of games featured on the podcast. This includes Masks: A New Generation, which is now my longest running game as a GM. Check out Character Creation, see where it will lead you, and more in all the characters that you are never going to play.
Yep. This is an extremely accurate review. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a wonderful review to get.
That is it for today's episode. Next week is a week off for the public feed, but you can make sure to check out our newsletter for a recap of the month, or the Patreon for our new Undying Bonds episode. Until then, take care of yourselves, stay safe, drink some water, keep being awesome, crush it for the Lord, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Amelia Antrim, and I can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning, or on my other podcast, Garbage of the Five Rings. Our other host, Ryan Bolter, can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast it originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by the absolutely fantastic Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game system used in today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, extra outtakes, and much, much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time. All right.
Clickety click.
I think I clicked a little too early on my end.
Ugh, Ryan.
So this is a note to
It was
future
your
Ryan.
rule. You had one
I clicked
rule.
at exactly the right time.
Yeah.
I
didn't mess it up. I don't know.
If anyone else is off, it's because they clicked separately.
I know.
Hello.
Hello.
No pressure to be on yet if you're not quite ready to.
No, I literally just got back to the point of being on.
My mic just fell
Excellent,
off my
excellent.
Oh no.
Oh no.
A good time for that to happen, though.
Uh-huh.
That's true. That's true.
Oops.
Yeah, I was like,
Amazing.
ooh, speaking of like our designer frames here, I've got my fancy Gucci
Very
glasses
nice.
frames. Yes. My
Yeah,
ex-husband is an optician and I get a family discount.
Ooh.
Nice.
Because he still considers me friends and family.
Hey, that's excellent.
Little
Take
does
it.
he know. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
All right. So we can
Do we stop
stop
recording?
this recording
Yeah.
here and save
Stop.
it off.
Love it.
There we go.
Nailed it.
Those waves are forming.
We did it.
Waves are
Waves.
waving.
Waves be waving.
Waves be waving, forms be forming. All right.
Stopping my
Find that
recording.
stop button there.
Stop.